The Solidarity Fund team says the period between March and September wasn't an easy ride. The fund received 3.1 billion rand, which was spent on various efforts, including the purchase of ventilators, PPE, and assisting with food security. The fund is planning to continue with its work until the end of 2021. Joining us now is Thandine Nzimande, the Chief Executive Officer of the Solidarity Fund. Good evening, and thank you so much for your time tonight, Ms. Nzimande. A lot has been said about the work that you've been doing, the latest being securing, of course, South Africa's position within that COVAX grouping. Tell us exactly where you are with that process.
So that's a process that is in support of the strategy of government of making sure that vaccines are available for South African citizens. And really our part in that is to make a down payment of 327 million rand, which represents 15% of the amount that actually will be paid over in total to the COVAX facility. And what that will secure for the nation will be 10%, will be vaccines that cover 10% of the nation. And the way that COVAX works means that the amounts will be, the vaccines will be equitably distributed across the countries all around the globe.
Is the full bill going to be coming out of the Solidarity Fund's purse, or are you only expected to deal with this down payment, as you've put it?
Our role is purely related to the down payment. Our pockets are far shallower than the government's pockets. Our advantage is in that we are more nimble. And so it is that we play this role in terms of putting down the down payment, but the government will be the ones who will be able to pick up the tab for the rest of that.
Sure. When you say you're more nimble, what does that mean? Was government having a hard time finding the money for the down payment, so they came to you and asked you just to help them out on this one bit before that deadline looms? I'm sure you would have read the stories about government missing a deadline for the payment, which the finance minister later denied.
Yes, no. So really, the way that we work with government is that we have tried to make sure that our responses to the pandemic are in line with the strategy that is being followed by the Department of Health. So to the extent that there are certain things that we can see as we're discussing, that is a role that the Solidarity Fund could play with additionality, then we put our hands up to say that is something that we can definitely cover. And we will only put our hands up to the extent that we think that there may be delays due to the rigorous processes that government has in terms of releasing large sums of money. So really, it's a joy, it's a partnership rather than a rescuing, if you will.
Are you still finding that people are contributing to the fund in the way that they were at the initial phases of us dealing with COVID-19, and I suppose being driven by a lot of uncertainty about the future?
So we do find that there is still some contribution being made. The active fundraising also on the part of the fund has pulled back to the extent that we believe over time we should get to a point where we are living with COVID as much as we live with something like measles, which we don't really even think about. So as South Africans get used to living with COVID, the role of the fund diminishes. So over time, as you were saying, we hope that we will have wrapped our operations up by the end of next year at the latest.
So, Ms. Nzimande, how much do you have in the coffers of the Solidarity Fund, and what is that money going to be used towards?
So the way that the allocations work, we've got significant allocations already made. The disbursements related to those allocations tend to be a little bit slower because they follow a particular cadence. And then we have what we refer to as our war chest, which is monies that remain unallocated. And that at this stage is roughly 500 million. What we anticipate is that there will be needs in relation to surges in specific areas, and therefore a need for us to be able to be responsive in those when the certain requests will come through from, in particular, the Department of Health. Secondly, we believe that there may be a role to be played in relation still to vaccines, but not necessarily in the procurement of vaccines.
Mm-hmm. Are you finding that private business is still one of the big contributors to the fund? You know, you're talking about 500 million. This effectively needs to get you through until the end of 2021. South Africa only now entering its second wave, and some are saying, well, we could well see an increase of infections right up until the beginning of February, when all the moving around in the country effectively settles.
Yeah, so the private sector has been a great support, and they continue to be so in various ways. A large amount of the donations that came from the private sector, but also a large amount of operational capacity is provided by various players in the private sector. For instance, on our contracting side, our ENS colleagues have been continuing to be helping us on a pro bono basis or on a seconded basis. Old Mutual as the administration, the fund administrators, very, very important role. So we continue to have significant support. B4SA is still a very key partner of ours in distributing the various things that we need to get to across the country. So yeah, private sector is still very, very much a great help to us, and will need to be for. We hope that they will continue to support us.
All right. Let's leave it there then for tonight. Thank you so much for your time. The Chief Executive Officer of the Solidarity Fund, Thandi Nzimande.